well said. But Tehseen, it is going to have to change the politics or the political language or the political idiom of those who are wanting to take on the BJP. Because by not going, I think you and I agree that Hindutva has become a talking point of this election to a greater degree than it may have been otherwise, right? Now, what has to change? Does the opposition have to learn the language of faith before it actually reclaims or seeks to reclaim? Shashi Tharoor famously says we're going to take back Hinduism from Hindutva. How do you do that when so many actually are disparaging of faith itself, or are deracinated in their liberalism, or are colonized, or have all of our ideas borrowed from the West? What has to change?
A lot has to change with regards to the opposition. But let me first start from where Mr. Jain left off. He's absolutely right. Jahan dharm hai, wahan vijay hoti hai. Bilkul sahi. So when Ram Rahim is let off, is that dharma? That's not dharma. He's left out upteenth number of times. And the Bilkis Banu rapists, when those who lynched a police officer in uniform in Uttar Pradesh are indicted into the BJP, that is not dharma. When Manipur, that is not dharma. When Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh molested women asking protein powder, and he is today hanging around the holy sites, that is not dharma. So it is easy to talk about dharma. What made Lord Ram truly great and superior, that got respect of the universe, including from atheists like me, born Muslims, is the fact that Lord Ram upheld dharma. Lord Ram did not have to go for 14 years for Vanvas, but he upheld his father's promise. Raghukul Reet sada chali aaye, pran jaye par vachan na jaye. Kaun sa vachan nibhaya aapne? But that the opposition, instead of asking those issues, asked irrelevant issues. Therein is the problem. Even the letter drafted to refuse was not very well drafted. And listen, Barkha, you can say whatever you want. When it comes to faith and identity, people, that is a bigger connect with people than anything else. And where the BJP successfully has managed to connect with people is on faith and identity. The Congress for itself, because again, I'm a Congress supporter, seems to have forgotten its own prime ministers and the contribution of its own prime ministers, including martyr Rajiv Gandhi, who not only opened the locks, who not only got the Shilanyas, who not only started his election campaign from Ayodhya, who not only in his last interview to India Today said his aim was to build a Ram temple. They seem to have forgotten their own prime minister. Baki सारों को छोड़ दो, अपने प्रधानमंत्री को भूल गए वो. So therein is a problem with the opposition. Now, how does this connect in the 2024 polls? Well, the 2024 polls can still be about asking questions about Ramrajya and promising people Ramrajya in a constructive way. But simply going about dismissing people's faith by calling Sanatan dengue or malaria, by creating some divide, that will not help. You have to see, people don't like it when their faith is insulted. Mr. Jain said one thing which struck me. He said, now people will read the Ramayana. Mr. Jain, with humility to you, sir, my grandmother brought me up and I heard stories. And so did all of us here on this panel. So did you, Barkha. I'm sure I've heard stories. You don't need the BJP to teach us the Ramayana or the Mahabharata or our history or our cultural civilization. But the fact that BJP is able to say it time and again shows you how disconnected the opposition was from people's faith. Who got the Ram serial on Doordarshan? Rajiv Gandhi, right?
Yeah, but you have to make up your mind. When I say you in this case, I mean the party that you support, or the opposition has to make up its mind which version of secularism or pluralism it wants to embrace here. And right now, it's very confused. I think you and I agree.
Can I answer that in one line?
One line, because I need to go to...
And I agree. You got to speak. There should be no confusion. The problem with the opposition is, and I'm telling you this honestly, they think by doing something, Muslims will get upset or Christians will get upset. That is not how India works. India is too interwoven. It does not affect. So please, what is a larger issue, what could be a larger issue, is that the enemies of Hindus and Muslim kids are the same. Lack of opportunities, lack of jobs, lack of healthcare, lack of growth. Those should be the opportunities to unite. So please get on that. Don't listen to those so-called Muslim intellectuals who come down and try and scare you, because that's not the way it's going to work forward.
Let's allow Govind and Jaggi to come in now. Govind Krishnan, you looked back at Vivekananda, which is the subject of your book. Let's look ahead. As I said, there are those like Shashi Tharoor who have written entire books on why I'm a Hindu, trying to underscore the fact that unless you speak the language of faith in a deeply religious country, but also in a country where religion and culture often overlap in a seamless sort of way. So you may not believe in a certain kind of institutional faith, but you are celebrating or taking part in a festival sometimes without fully understanding its etymology, its symbolism, and so on. When you look ahead, you look at this moment. I know from your writings that you're not a fan of the BJP. What
Mm.
concerns you? What concerns you the most today?
What concerns me is that I don't see this as a moment of victory for Hinduism. I think it is a moment of danger and for Hinduism.
Hmm.
Because see, there once you are saying that oh, Hinduism is a way of life. Everyone can have different ways. Yet you are saying that when the BJP and the RSS are saying Lord Ram is very important. All Hindus should, this is a moment of great pride for all Hindus. All Hindus should respect this. All Hindus should be proud of this. I mean, this is disingenuous. You can have either one or the other.
Hmm.
And this is something that what Vivekananda says that I would like to just quote. He says about Hinduism that the chief advantage of Hinduism is that it was not the work of one single person. And therefore, unlike Buddhism or Christianity or Mohammedanism, the prophet or teacher did not entirely follow up the principles. All of us can agree to principles, but not very much on persons. The persons appeal to our emotions. Um, the principle appeals to something higher, to a calm judgment. Emotions many times drag us down to the level of animals. So when principles are entirely lost sight of
Hmm.
and emotions prevail, religions degenerate into fanaticism and sectarianism.
What is the principle you believe? If I may ask you, just in the interest of time, I apologize for that because I have to
Yeah.
go to Jaggi and then close with Mr. Jain. What is the principle? What is the principle that you believe is at stake on
Uh,
the 22nd of January, given that this has come from a Supreme Court verdict, given that years of mediation was tried between both communities, given that other than maybe one or two Muslim politicians, I have not heard any opposition from, you know, Indian Muslims as a community. What concerns you as the principle that you referenced just now?
Right. So what Vivekananda wants against is that a personality would follow up the principles, right, and that it should lead to violence. Now, what is the legacy of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement? The thing is that when L.K. Advani took out his Ratha Yatra, it's a very communally tense environment. Almost 500 people, I think the historian K.K. Panikar estimates that some more than 500 people died before the Ram Mandir demolition. And
Hmm.
I think, I don't know the exact number, I think over 1,000 people died after that. This
Hmm.
was the result of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. It is part of his legacy. Now, what is the principle that Ram represents? Ram represents Maryatha, Dharma, tolerance, acceptance, justice. Now, when Sita was kidnapped by uh, Ravan, and he sends Hanuman to make. I'm talking about when he kills Ravana, his mortal enemy. He
Hmm.
still asks Lakshman to go and receive instructions from him on statecraft because he's a great king. Now, this is what Ram represents. How does the lost lives of thousands of people, of
Okay.
all those
Let's
families of and represent the principle of Ram
let
of
me take the
Maryatha?
let me take the essence of your question to Jaggi and then give Mr. Jain the last word. This kind of openness, the maryada, the compassion, the Lakshman Rekha, the lines never to be crossed, the respect for red lines, and I think even Tehseen references that the opposition should be talking about. Does Brij Bhushan reconcile with any principles that this sacred day, this moment of sanctity represents? That's question one. Question two is the debate around pluralism. Now, and on the one hand, we do, these points have been made. The state should get out of the business of running mandirs. The state should not subsidize religious pilgrimages. We need to relook minority institutions, the AMU cases before the Supreme Court, as Mr. Jain knows. But on the other hand, there has been a public holiday that has been declared. This is a point of debate. Maharashtra has declared a public holiday. The government has declared a half day on Monday. What do you think of that, Mr. Jagannathan?
Yeah, see, I'll not comment all those individual cases of Bridge Bhushan and all that, because I think those rogues exist in all parties. So I am not going to hold a brief for the BJP on how they handled it, because this is how parties are doing this in the interest of their political future. I don't think this is dharma. They should have been condemned right away, but they haven't done so. Does not mean that they are not right on Ram Mandir or whatever it is, right? And when it comes to Ram Mandir movement, I think there is a time when you're trying to break out of a civilizational inertia. That energy required is often tends to have some side fallout in where people may have got killed or violent and all that happened. I mean, without that surge of that movement, you think without, it's like during the Mandal politics, a lot of things happened, right? But when you are trying to do something on social justice or faith, the inertia can only be overcome with a very large push. That is the reality of all change. So we have to accept that. The last thing I'll say on the Hindu-Muslim question, let me tell you, in my belief, neither Hindus nor Muslims are the real villains here. The villains are the left, who deliberately sabotaged an attempt to solve the issue during Chandrasekhar's regime by writing a historian's report to the nation, which was entirely fictitious, based on non-archaeological assumptions, and when the archaeology was clear. Okay, even today you go to Mathura and Kashi, you can see what has happened there, right? So in this case, they deliberately lied to the people. They actually prevented what could have been a samjhauta and would have led to good Hindu-Muslim relations. I think even now there is time. We need to have a history, truth, reconciliation effort following up. And I hope that's the way that this thing ends.
Okay, Mr. Jain, the last word to you. You said that nothing is static. No one can predict the future. Things evolve. Even laws are either abandoned, read down, or change. But personally, speaking in your personal capacity, do you believe that this moment should close the debate around other places of worship? Or do you believe that this is the beginning of opening that somewhat painful conversation that could create further ruptures? How do we ensure that this is a day of inclusion and not a day of triumphalism, a day of unity and not a day of division? The last word to you, Mr. Jain.
See, for me, I will say that it is a matter of pride for all Indians, not only Hindus, not only belonging to a particular section of society. Number two, somebody asked a very pertinent question from a religious leader, that what is the difference between Ramayana and Mahabharata? And the one-line reply was, आइडियल लाइफ मर्यादा का जीवन जीना रामायण है, सत्ता का संघर्ष महाभारत है. आई होप इन कमिंग डेज इट विल बी ए मर्यादित जीवन फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस, not only for one section but all of us, and all people, whatever the controversial issues are going to come or have come or are not being taken into consideration at this particular moment, should be, will be, and I'm very hopeful, sorted out, if need be, through the judicial intervention in an amicable matter in the best interest of the nation and the country as a whole. Third, those deviations are everywhere. My friend just pointed out, he mentioned some names also. Today, that is not the issue. Deviations are everywhere. That is among the Hindus also, Jains also, Christians also, Sikhs also. Everywhere deviations are there. But I will close by saying one shlok from Gurbani. चंगियाइयां बुरियाइयां वाचे तरम हदूर, जो अच्छे या बुरे काम आप कर रहे हैं वो सब भगवान वॉच कर रहा है. चंगियाइयां बुरियाइयां वाचे तरम हदूर, करनी आपो आपने के नेड़े के दूर. जो जैसे कर्म करता है उसका फल उसको मिल जाएगा, किसी को पहले किसी को बाद में. जो मर्यादा को भंग करेगा वो भी अपना उसका फल भुगतेगा, और जो मर्यादा का पालन करेगा उसको भी आशीर्वाद मिलेगा. इसी उम्मीद के साथ मैं कह रहा हूं, आइए फॉर फ्यूचर एमिकेबली बैठकर इशू सेटल करें, जैसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 5 जजों ने ये मामला हल किया है. मुझे विश्वास है बाकी मुद्दे भी बातचीत से हल होंगे इन द बेस्ट इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द नॉट ओनली हिंदूज, नॉट ओनली इंडियंस, but the entire humanity. We will be able to sort out all the issues.
Okay, I was going to close that. I think the humanism of Lord Ram that you have invoked, Mr. Jain, is something that we can all agree on across ideologies, across regions, religions. Tehseen, did you have a sentence to come in with? You were raising your hand.
Yeah, the humanism of Lord Ram And what makes Lord Ram the ultimate Raja, the ultimate king, apart from being the god or Ramrajya, is the fact that Lord Ram took everyone along. Lord Ram never distinguished. When the Ram Setu was being built, a squirrel came to the bears and monkeys, to the Vanar Sena, and said, "Can I help?" And they laughed. They said, "You're a squirrel. What will you pick up these bricks?" Lord Ram involved a squirrel and then patted the squirrel's back. That's why it said that the squirrel has stripes. When Lord Ram returns to Ayodhya with Sita, the transgenders were left outside Ayodhya. Lord Ram got the door opened and they were welcome. That is Lord Ram's greatness, inclusivity. The question is, Mr. Jain knows, is this government truly inclusive or is it just pretending to be inclusive? Lord Ram knows the truth and we know the truth.
Okay, Mr. Jain, very, very quickly, 30 seconds. Mr. Jain, 30 seconds.
नहीं, आई से लॉर्ड राम का जो जीवन है शुरू से लेके अंत तक, हमारे यहाँ किसी के बच्चा पैदा होता तो हम कहते हैं राम का शुक्र है, शादी होती तो राम का धन्यवाद करते हैं, और जब उसके फूल भी डालने जाते हैं तभी राम नाम सत्य ही बोलते हैं। तो राम जन्म से लेके अंत तक है, हम सब उनके प्रिंसिपल्स का फॉलो करें, दूसरों की कमियां निकालने की बजाय अपनी कमियां निकालें तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा।